Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Cavaliers Roundtable. I'm joined to my right by Ryan Chybinski and to my left by Jason Fridge. And guys, the softball team, they had not one, but two doubleheaders this week. How do you think they did so far?
Well, Matt, first off, it was 3 doubleheaders with one more to come on Saturday. But they've played pretty well. They took it to Widener, 6-0 in the first game, 5-1 in the second game. You know, they're basically playing at almost 100% this week. Just dropped one to the Diplomats today on the 20th, 0-5 in the second game. Though they've looked good from in the circle. The hitting's been heating up. Madison Google caught one in the throat during the game. It skipped off her, but she stayed with the play. Unable to make the throw over, but these girls are playing with a lot of grit in these last few games, not letting the wear and tear take their toll on it, and Avery Burns has been stout in the circle, continuing her run as the Cavaliers' ace.
Yeah, and it has been tough for them as a team. A lot of these games were canceled early on the season, so they had to schedule them back to back to back. And I think it's good to see them bouncing back in the win category. They went 5 straight through the first 5 games, just falling to the 6th with an 0-5 game against Franklin and Marshall. But last week, they played Salisbury on Friday, which is a top 3 team in the nation. So going over to Salisbury in Maryland, they dropped both of those games, but I think it gave them a little bit of juice and something that they needed to bring back home. Now they're on a homestand here. They've won at Mercy on Saturday, going back into AEC play, but 3 non-conference games and 3 competitive series of doubleheaders that they had there. And it all starts at the batting box. Ari Miranda has really still been having a great season, Conference Player of the Year a year ago, and picking up right where she left off here.
Absolutely. She had, to start the first game, 3 hits in a row, multiple leadoff doubles for this team. You know, it all comes down to the leadoff spot. You know, that's the spot that's going to get your lineup going, and Ren has been delivering, and then the rest of the lineup's been following suit. You know, Avery Burns isn't just in the circle. She's hitting in the box. Jonna Stalter has been hitting as well. This whole team can hit, and when this team's on fire, they're unstoppable. And as you were saying, Fridge, going down to Salisbury definitely helped them. Seeing a top team, and you may drop games, but knowing that you can play against a top opponent, especially an opponent you may see, you know, in the event that you win the AEC, you will see them again in the tournament at some point. So seeing those top teams, as the lacrosse team knows, is important to figuring out exactly how good of a team you are as compared to playing a team like a Gwynedd Mercy or a team in the AECs. Going outside the conference and playing these tough non-conference games is very important as a scheduled team.
And I think it's a great plan from Coach Protesto to have that game kind of in the middle of the season. Of course, the way that it ended up, it happened to be before a big week of games that were rescheduled, but having that Salisbury game and then immediately going back in your conference, seeing what it's like outside, and then understanding what the job is to do, which is win a conference championship, and hope that you can find them again later on down the road, and maybe you catch them when you're getting hot and you can knock them off. That's always the goal, especially late into an NCAA tournament.
So you guys were both talking about how they are playing in doubleheaders. You know, brought that up. How much of a toll do you think that's taking on the team?
It's got to be a lot. I mean, but at the same time, I think it's a great thing because you don't have the time to kind of lull back and have like, oh, it's a practice day, we're going to have the energy down. Like game days, you have to bring your A game every single time, and you have to go through that process. This week, they had to do it 3 out of 4 days. So making sure that you can bring the same energy, get the bats going, and have that experience kind of competing back to back to back. I think in the long run, it's going to be great because that's how a super regional is. That's how a regional is. You're going to be playing a lot of games back to back, and you're going to have to find ways to recuperate and get the bats going fast if they aren't there in the first game.
I think the biggest thing is you know, shout out to the training staff at Cabrini. I mean, it's been the same starting lineup for game 1 of every single of these doubleheaders for the last 4 days. It has been Avery Burns in the circle, and it has been these same players out there every day. So these players are doing what they need to do at night, you know, taking it easy, resting, ice baths more than likely in the training room. The trainers have been doing a great job keeping them set. A couple players took some balls awkwardly today. Stalter behind the plate took one. Google out there also took one. Both of them seem to be okay after the game. So just taking care of yourself after the game, rehydrating, eating, making sure you're getting enough sleep. All these things are important, and these girls seem to be doing that. Going forward, they will be good going into these super regionals. I think that this experience is really showing them what it takes to play in the tournament. You know, a lot of teams get into the NCAA tournament and don't know what it's like to play 3 or 4 days in a row. So having that experience is really helpful when you can get it in the regular season, especially against competitive teams.
Yeah, so how do you think, have you seen a drop in the pitching at all, especially from pitchers like Avery? You know, you're starting 3 games in a week. How's her arm feeling?
She seems to be pitching really well. She's lights out. I mean, it's strikeout after strikeout. Struggled a little bit in the first game against Widener. She let up 3 walks in the top of the first inning, loaded the bases on walks, went 1-2-3 on strikeouts, didn't give up a hit that in the single game. So she's pitching well. Daphne Santos has been pitching well as well coming in, and they've been switching her with Sydney Andrews as well in the circle. Andrews has pitched the last 2 days in the second game. Daphne came in relief in the late stages of today's second game, but the pitching seems to be well. It's a lot less arm movement than it is in baseball, so you'll see pitchers be able to go multiple days in a row, whereas they need 4 or 5 days in baseball. So Burns and the pitching staff have seemed very stout going forward, even having to play 3 games this week.
Yeah, and I mean, with Burns, she still has a 3.02 ERA on the season through 15 games. With the amount of reps that she's getting and kind of the wear and tear on her arms, you still see that she's putting up really good numbers and able to get batters struck out left and right. Maybe you give up a few runs here and there, but that's where the infielders and the outfielders come in and kind of give her that support. And then at the bats, they've really been getting a lot of runs on the board. The most runs that they gave up in this 3 doubleheader span was 5. And even in the game where they gave up 4, they were right there with Penn State Brandywine to come back late and walk it off. So I think the team's in a really good position, kind of supporting the lone senior on this team, Avery, who's had all of this experience throughout her career, kind of getting everyone up to speed and allowing her to not only lead them there, but coming in behind and supporting her that entire time.
Absolutely, and you got to give Avery credit as well in the box. I mean, we talk about her in the circle. She's the ace for this Cavaliers team, but I mean a .386 batting average, second highest batting average on the team. I mean, she does it all for this team, and you can tell that this team has really rallied behind her leadership. You know, the younger players are stepping up. They're being able to rotate through players through these doubleheaders because they've been up big in certain games. So the experience is really showing from this Cavaliers team, and they're showing that they are a force to be reckoned with going forward, and that you're going to need to take this Cavaliers team seriously.
So switching gears here a little bit, Jason, you were talking about holding the runs down. You guys on the men's lacrosse team, you guys have had 2 big wins, holding both Immaculata and Centenary to a low score in goals. What do you attribute that to?
I think it's a lot of just the team being bought in. Offensively, we kind of have gone into the last few games understanding that earlier in the year, our non-conference schedule is really difficult. We play some top-tier teams, and we even have another big game coming up this Friday. But going back to just kind of going from those big non-conference games to our conference games, we start to get our groove. And offensively, it's everybody is sharing the ball. It is an everybody eats style of offense where you're getting guys up and down the roster on the scoreboard, and everyone knows their role. And I think that's what I'm really loving to see right now from our locker room is everybody knows where they need to be on the sideline, on the field, all throughout, kind of buying in and just supporting each other. So against Centenary, when we come out with a score that says it's 29-1, you don't see the 25 assisted goals that we had. And that's something that is really impressive because we're sharing the ball, we're spinning it, we're trying to get that one more. Instead of taking 10 goals from one player, we want 3 or 4 guys to have 3 goals, or even like 15 guys to get on the scoreboard, something like that. So I think that's really been the big thing is knowing your role, buying in as a group, and then of course our defense has just been lights out. Like you got to shout out our senior leadership there, and even a freshman in net. He's been playing lights out and really starting to step into his own footing, a young guy, but starting to find his voice in our defense.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got a big game coming up tomorrow night against Salisbury, a rivalry game. Coach Berkman going down there. That's the team that, I mean, the last 3 years, 3 years has taking you guys out of the NCAA tournament. So this is a team that you're more than likely going to see come later on this month. So getting a good look at the Seagulls here, might have to go on the road as we have the last couple of years. So being able to get a look at them on their own home field, where you guys went last year, to see them again and get a chance to prove to them that, hey, our early losses to good teams don't define us. We are a different team now. This team has played in conference play. They've played some teams that are below their level the last couple times. I mean, I'm going to be frank, Centenary and Immaculata are not on the same level as the Cavaliers, obviously. But, you know, just getting those wins and getting the wins against bigger opponents as well as the season has rolled on after that tough game against Tufts has really given this team confidence. And you can feel that swagger out on the field. I mean, you can feel it from the offense, from McManus, from Bolton, from Haraz. I mean, the whole thing, the number one offense has been clicking. I mean, Vataman inserting himself into the lineup. The freshmen are producing for this Cavaliers team. It's the young bloods out there. It's not just the seniors doing it all. And as you said, Jason, it's an everybody eats mentality. I mean, I say almost the entire roster when I'm calling the games out there. Call for rotates through so many guys. So getting that experience for the young guys is big going towards the tournament.
And I think a big thing that you mentioned is our confidence from the Tufts game. That, when we look back on the season, I think it's going to be Dickinson and Tufts are the two games that we circle as this is where our mentality changed. After that Tufts game, that was not easy. It was tough, to say the least. Coming in, getting beat 24-7 on our home turf on a Tuesday night. Everybody was there. National media saw that, and they're kind of like, okay, like, Tufts is really good. Cabrini is just a top 20 team. And we're trying to prove to ourselves, which we already know, but we want to show the rest of the country we're not just another top 20 team. We have this fire kind of lit under us, and a big way that we can separate ourselves from the pack is going down and giving right now who's the number 2, number 3 team in the country a great game. We did it last year on our home tour. We had them down there, and then they had to come in and steal it in double OT. But guys remember that. Guys feel that emotion in the locker room. I'll never forget it myself. We remember sending our seniors off at Salisbury in the tournament saying, you're not going to be a Cavalier again. We all have this in the back of our head, and even the freshmen are starting to buy into that mentality. So we're really excited to see what we have in store. We feel our week of preparation has set us up for success. And I think bigger than that, it's our confidence and our mentality. We're in the right position. We're looking to shock the world.
I mean, Coach Berkman and Coach Colfer are good friends. We know that. I know Colfer has this game scheduled on his circled on his schedule as this is the game. If we're not going to win anything else all season, I want to beat this Seagulls team. Because, I mean, they're obviously the biggest hurdle that this Cavaliers team has struggled to get over the last few years, as we were talking about. And this team is really bought in. Like, they are laser focused on winning nothing but this Atlantic East Conference title, getting into the tournament, and making some noise. They want to prove that they are the team that we saw in 2019, that we saw in 2020. They are that team. This can be a good team. You see the talent on this team, and they're going to prove it going into the tournament, and they're going to make a big statement tomorrow night against the Seagulls.
All right, everybody. So that is all the time we have for this year on the Cavalier Roundtable. Thank you to Jason and Ryan and everyone we've had along the way. And from all of us here at House 67 Productions, have a great summer.